I was sitting in my home office watching the green numbers climb on my cryptocurrency portfolio when my phone buzzed with Trevor's text message. "Don't wait up. I've found someone who truly gets me." For a moment, I just stared at the screen. 6 years of marriage, and this is how he chose to end it, with a text message while I was supposedly at home being the dependent little wife he thought I was. I looked back at my computer screen. Bitcoin was up 12% today. My portfolio had just crossed $8.5 million. I picked up my phone and typed back, "Then stay with her. Don't bother coming home." I hit send without hesitation. Then I turned off my phone and went back to my trading analysis. Ethereum was showing promising movement, and I had some decisions to make about my tech stock investments. 20 minutes later, curiosity got the better of me. I turned my phone back on. 53 missed calls, all from Trevor. The text messages started rolling in one after another. "Diana, what do you mean don't come home?" "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to stay?" "This is ridiculous. I was just testing you." "Answer your phone." "Diana, please, we need to talk about this." "You're being dramatic. It's not what you think." "I made a mistake. Please call me back." I scrolled through message after message, watching my husband fall apart in real time. The man who thought he held all the power in our relationship was completely panicking because I hadn't responded the way he expected. He probably thought I'd be crying, begging him to come home, promising to be a better wife. That's what the old Diana would have done, the Diana he thought he married. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: relief. I called Felix Chen, my financial advisor. It was late, but Felix always answered when I called. "Diana, everything all right?" "It's time," I said simply. "Trevor just left me for someone else. I need to execute the protection plan we discussed." "I'll start the transfers immediately," Felix said, without missing a beat. "How much time do we have?" "He thinks I'm a helpless bookkeeper with $2,000 in savings. He has no idea what's coming." Felix chuckled. "Diana, you never cease to amaze me. Most people would be crying right now." "Most people aren't secretly worth $8.5 million. Fair point. I'll move the European accounts first, then the cryptocurrency holdings. By morning, everything will be in the protected trusts we set up." Next, I called Jasper Monroe, my divorce attorney and old college friend. "Diana, it's past midnight. Is everything okay?" "Trevor just left me for another woman. I need to start divorce proceedings immediately." "I'll file the papers first thing in the morning," Jasper said. "Diana, given what you've told me about your financial situation, this could get complicated." "That's why I hired the best divorce attorney in the state," I said. "Trevor has no idea what he just walked away from. And he never suspected anything about your real net worth?" "Jasper, the man thinks I struggle to balance our checkbook. He has no clue that I've been funding his entire lifestyle for 6 years." After I hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat back in my home office. Around me were 3 monitors showing my various investment accounts, a wall of financial books, and certificates from cryptocurrency trading courses that Trevor assumed were decorative. My phone was still buzzing with his calls and texts, each one more desperate than the last. "Diana, please, I love you. She means nothing to me." "I'm coming home. We need to fix this." "You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage." I blocked his number and smiled. Trevor thought he was discarding a dependent housewife who couldn't survive without him. He had no idea he'd just lost the best thing that ever happened to him. And tomorrow he was going to start finding out exactly what that mistake would cost him. 6 years ago, I was 26 years old and worth $3 million. I'd been trading cryptocurrency since I was 19, back when people thought Bitcoin was just play money for computer nerds. While my college friends were worried about student loans, I was quietly building an empire from my dorm room. By the time I graduated, I owned a portfolio of digital assets that most people couldn't even pronounce. I had investments in tech startups, real estate properties, and enough money in offshore accounts to never work another day in my life. But I was lonely. Every man I dated fell into two categories: those who wanted my money and those who were intimidated by my success. The wealthy guys saw me as a trophy or a business opportunity. The regular guys either felt threatened or assumed I was lying about my achievements. I was tired of it all. That's when I decided to try something different. What if I met someone who didn't know about my money? What if I could find a man who would love me for who I really was, not what I could provide? I met Trevor at a coffee shop downtown. I was there for a meeting with a potential startup investment, but I'd arrived early and was reading a financial newspaper while I waited. "Excuse me," a voice said. "Is this seat taken?" I looked up to see a man in his late 20s with kind eyes and a genuine smile. He was wearing a simple button-down shirt and looked like he worked in an office somewhere normal. "Please sit," I said, quickly closing my financial paper and pulling out a romance novel I kept in my purse as a cover. "Sorry to bother you," he said. "I'm Trevor. I work across the street, and this is the only place that makes decent coffee." "Diana," I replied. "I work downtown too. Bookkeeping." The lie came out so easily. Bookkeeping sounded boring enough that he wouldn't ask many questions, but legitimate enough to explain why I could afford to live alone. Trevor's face lit up. "That must be so organized and detail-oriented. I'm terrible with numbers." For the next hour, we talked about everything except money. Trevor told me about his job in middle management at a consulting firm. He talked about his dreams of getting promoted, his small apartment, and how he was saving up to maybe buy a house someday. He was humble, sweet, and completely genuine. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him without hesitation. Our first date was at a chain restaurant because Trevor wanted to take me somewhere nice but admitted he was on a budget. I found his honesty refreshing compared to the men who threw money around to impress me. "I'm sorry it's not somewhere fancier," he said over dinner. "Maybe when I get that promotion I've been working toward." "This is perfect," I told him. And I meant it. Trevor treated me with respect and kindness. He opened doors, asked about my day, and seemed genuinely interested in my thoughts and opinions. He never made me feel like I was just a pretty face or a stepping stone to something better. That's when I made my decision. I was going to test him. I created an entire false life. I rented a modest one-bedroom apartment and furnished it with furniture from discount stores. I bought clothes from regular shops instead of designer boutiques. I created fake pay stubs showing I made $35,000 a year as a bookkeeper for a small firm. When Trevor and I got serious, I let him believe he was rescuing me from financial struggle. I made him think his steady income and responsible savings made him the stable one in our relationship. The house we bought together? I paid cash, but created fake mortgage documents showing Trevor as the primary borrower. His credit score couldn't actually qualify for the loan we supposedly had. Trevor's promotions at work? I anonymously sent his company profitable insider information that made his division look successful. His bonuses? I secretly deposited money into his accounts and let him think he'd earned them. For 6 years, I played the role of grateful, dependent wife while actually funding our entire lifestyle. Trevor never suspected a thing. The changes in Trevor started subtly, about 2 years into our marriage. It began with small comments that I initially brushed off as jokes. "You're so lucky you don't have to worry about the big financial decisions," he said one evening while reviewing what he thought were our household expenses. "I'll handle the real money management." I was sitting across from him, secretly monitoring a cryptocurrency trade worth more than his annual salary, but I just smiled and nodded. "You're so good with numbers," I said sweetly. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Trevor's company had just landed a major client, thanks to an anonymous tip I'd provided about the client's expansion plans. Trevor got the credit and a promotion that came with a significant raise. "This is just the beginning," he told me proudly. "I have a real gift for understanding market trends." I congratulated him enthusiastically, while mentally noting that my tip had earned his company over $2 million in new business. As Trevor's career continued to flourish, His attitude toward me began to shift. "Maybe you should think about dressing better for company events," he suggested before his office Christmas party. "Some of the other wives really know how to present themselves." I looked down at my perfectly nice dress, one I'd deliberately chosen from a mid-range store to maintain my cover. "This was expensive for me," I said quietly. "I know, honey, and I appreciate that you try. But now that I'm moving up in the company, appearances matter more." The next day, I secretly bought him a $2,000 suit and had it delivered to his office with a note from his grateful boss as a bonus for outstanding performance. Trevor started making more comments about my job and intelligence. "It's cute how you balance our checkbook," he said one evening, watching me pretend to struggle with our fake household budget. "Math was never your strong suit in school, was it?" I bit my tongue and remembered that my actual investment portfolio had gained $300,000 that month. "You're the smart one in this family," I replied. Trevor's ego grew with each success at work. He started talking about his colleagues differently, using names and titles like they were his personal friends. "Brad from Acquisitions thinks I should consider an MBA," he announced one night. "He says I have natural business instincts." Brad from Acquisitions had been promoted because I'd anonymously provided his department with market research worth $50,000. But Trevor didn't need to know that. "That's wonderful," I said. "You'd be amazing at business school." The worst part was watching Trevor develop contempt for the man he used to be. "I can't believe I used to worry about money," he laughed during dinner with friends. "It's amazing how much your perspective changes when you start earning real money." Our friend Lisa looked confused. "But you always seemed responsible with money, Trevor." "Well, when you're supporting a household on your own, you have to be strategic," Trevor said, glancing at me meaningfully. "Diana's bookkeeping job is nice, but it's not exactly career-level income." I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment, not because of the insult, but because our friends were seeing Trevor transform into someone unrecognizable. After dinner, Lisa pulled me aside. "Diana, is Trevor always like that now? He seems so different." "He's just confident about his success," I said, making excuses for behavior I was starting to hate. But Trevor's arrogance was accelerating. He started correcting me in public, explaining basic concepts like I was a child. "Diana doesn't really understand investment strategies," he told his boss at a company barbecue. "She's more of a simple, traditional type." I stood there smiling while calculating that my portfolio had outperformed the SP 500 by 23% that year. Trevor began treating our home like his personal kingdom, making unilateral decisions about purchases and plans. "I bought new furniture for the living room," he announced one day. "The old stuff didn't look professional enough for when I bring clients home." "Shouldn't we discuss big purchases together?" I asked. "Honey, I'm the one earning the money for big purchases. You just worry about keeping the house nice." I was secretly funding everything he bought, but Trevor had no idea. The man I'd married, humble, kind, and grateful, was disappearing, replaced by someone who believed his own fabricated success story. And I was starting to wonder if the real Trevor had ever existed at all. Everything changed when Trevor got promoted to the executive floor. "Diana, you won't believe this," he said, bursting through our front door with more excitement than I'd seen in months. "Harrison Sterling wants me to join his inner circle. Direct reports to the CEO." Harrison Sterling was one of the wealthiest men in the city, and his consulting firm handled major corporate accounts worth hundreds of millions. Trevor getting this close to the top was actually impressive, though he didn't know I'd been anonymously feeding his department profitable information for 2 years. "That's wonderful," I said, genuinely proud despite everything. "You've worked so hard for this." "There's going to be a celebration dinner tomorrow night. All the senior executives and their families will be there." The next evening, I dressed carefully in my nicest, budget-friendly dress and accompanied Trevor to the most exclusive restaurant in the city. The kind of place I actually frequented for business dinners, though Trevor had no idea. That's when I met Veronica Sterling. She glided into the private dining room like she owned it, which technically, her father probably did. Veronica was 29, blonde, and draped in designer everything. She had the confidence that came from never having to worry about money or consequences. "And you must be Trevor," she said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "Daddy has told me so much about his rising star." Trevor practically melted. "Ms. Sterling, it's an honor. This is my wife, Diana." Veronica's eyes swept over me dismissively before she turned her full attention back to Trevor. "Please, call me Veronica. I'm so impressed by your work on the Henderson acquisition. Such sophisticated market analysis." I watched Trevor's chest puff with pride, knowing I'd provided the market research that made that deal possible. "Well, I do try to stay ahead of industry trends," Trevor said modestly. "Brilliant men always do," Veronica replied, touching his arm lightly. "We should definitely discuss your strategies sometime. I'm always looking for sharp business minds to consult with on my own investments." From that night forward, Trevor became obsessed with impressing Veronica. "She's incredibly sophisticated," he told me after the dinner. "Went to Harvard, speaks 3 languages, sits on multiple charity boards. That's the kind of woman who really understands business at the highest level." "She seems nice," I said carefully. "Nice?" Trevor laughed. "Diana, she's in a completely different league. She's been groomed for high society since birth." The late nights started immediately. "Veronica's hosting a networking event for potential investors," Trevor would say, adjusting his tie. "It's a great opportunity to meet people who could advance my career." "What kind of networking event happens at 9 p.m. on a Saturday?" I asked. "The kind that serious business people attend," Trevor replied impatiently. "You wouldn't understand the dynamics. These aren't your typical office parties." Trevor began criticizing everything about me through the lens of what Veronica would do differently. "Veronica mentioned that she reads the Financial Times every morning," he said over breakfast. "Maybe you should try staying more informed about current events." I was already reading the Financial Times, along with the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and several industry publications, but I kept quiet. "And she was saying how important it is for successful couples to present a unified image," Trevor continued. "Maybe you could take some styling classes or something." "Styling classes?" "Nothing wrong with improving yourself, Diana. Veronica has a personal shopper, a trainer, a nutritionist. She invests in looking the part." The comments became crueler and more frequent. "Veronica was educated at the finest schools," Trevor said after I mentioned an article I'd read. "She understands nuanced economic theory. It's refreshing to talk to someone who can keep up intellectually." "Are you saying I can't keep up intellectually?" Trevor paused, like he was choosing his words carefully. "I'm saying that as men advance in their careers, sometimes they outgrow certain relationships. It's natural to want a partner who can match your level of achievement." I stared at my husband, watching him become someone I didn't recognize. "Some of the most successful men I know had to make difficult decisions about their personal lives," Trevor continued. "They realized their first wives were holding them back from reaching their full potential." That night, I lay in bed listening to Trevor text someone past midnight, the screen lighting up his face with each message. I didn't need to guess who he was texting. While Trevor was busy chasing status symbols and impressing Veronica Sterling, I was quietly building an empire he couldn't even imagine. My Tuesday morning routine never changed. Trevor would leave for work, believing I was heading to my little bookkeeping job, and I'd drive to Felix Chen's downtown office building. Felix's firm occupied 3 floors of a glass tower, managing wealth for tech entrepreneurs, cryptocurrency millionaires, and old money families who preferred discretion over flashy displays. "Diana," Felix greeted me as I entered his private office. "How are the European markets treating you this week?" "Better than expected," I said, settling into the leather chair across from his desk. "The Frankfurt Exchange loved our biotech play, up 18% since Monday." Felix pulled up my portfolio on his multiple monitors. Numbers cascaded across the screens: cryptocurrency holdings, international stock positions, real estate investments. and startup equity that most people could only dream of owning. Your total liquid assets are now at $8.7 million, Felix said. The cryptocurrency surge this quarter has been remarkable. And the real estate portfolio? The London property appreciated another 3% this month. The commercial building in Singapore is generating excellent rental income. Oh, and that tech startup you invested in 2 years ago? They're going public next month. Your initial $200,000 investment is now worth approximately $2.8 million. I nodded, taking notes in my encrypted financial journal. Trevor thought this was my personal diary where I wrote about feelings and daily activities. Felix, I need to accelerate our protection protocols, I said. Trevor's behavior is escalating. I think he's planning to leave me soon. Are you sure? He's having an affair with his boss's daughter. He's been staying out late, lying about business meetings, and making comments about outgrowing our marriage. Felix frowned. Diana, given the complexity of your holdings, this could get very complicated if he discovers the truth during divorce proceedings. That's why I need everything moved to the protected trusts we discussed. Felix opened a new file on his computer. We can transfer the cryptocurrency holdings to the Swiss trust within 24 hours. The real estate properties are already held under various LLCs. The stock portfolio can be moved to the Cayman Islands entity. What about the house? Technically, you own it outright. The mortgage documents showing Trevor as the borrower are, let's call them creative paperwork. But legally, the deed is in your name only. And my business accounts? The consulting firm you've been running under Walsh Financial Solutions? That's completely separate from anything Trevor could claim. Your cryptocurrency trading profits, your startup investments, your real estate income, none of it is legally connected to your marriage. I felt relief wash over me. For 6 years, I'd been meticulously separating my real financial life from the illusion I'd created for Trevor. There's something else, Felix said carefully. I've been monitoring some unusual activity. What kind of activity? Someone has been making inquiries about your identity. Specifically, someone has been trying to trace financial records connected to Diana Walsh, your maiden name. My blood went cold. Who? We're not sure yet, but whoever it is, they have access to sophisticated investigative resources. They've been checking cryptocurrency exchanges, property records, and business registrations. Could it be Trevor? Trevor Miller doesn't have the knowledge or connections to conduct this kind of investigation. This is professional-level financial intelligence gathering. I thought about Veronica Sterling and her wealthy, well-connected father. What if it's not Trevor directly? What if someone is investigating me for him? That's possible. Wealthy families often conduct background checks before allowing serious relationships with their children. Even if they're planning to break up someone's marriage? Felix gave me a look that said everything. Rich people didn't play by the same rules as everyone else. Diana, if the Sterling family discovers your real net worth, this situation could become very dangerous. They might try to expose you to manipulate Trevor, or worse, they might try to manipulate you directly. Then we need to move faster, I said. I want everything protected by the end of the week. Consider it done. As I left Felix's office, I realized that Trevor wasn't just planning to leave me for another woman. He was walking into a trap set by people who had more money and power than he could comprehend, and he had no idea that his dependent wife had more wealth than all of them combined. Trevor had been acting strangely confident for 2 weeks, like someone who had made a big decision and was pleased with himself. He'd started working out more, bought new clothes, and was constantly checking his appearance in mirrors. He was also being unusually nice to me, which immediately made me suspicious. Diana, how would you feel about dinner at Chez Laurent tomorrow night? He asked casually while I was pretending to balance our checkbook. Chez Laurent was the most expensive restaurant in the city. Trevor had never suggested we eat there before, claiming it was overpriced and pretentious. That sounds lovely, I said. What's the occasion? Can a husband want to take his wife somewhere special? Trevor smiled, but something about it felt forced. I knew this was it. This was going to be the conversation where Trevor told me he was leaving. The next evening, I dressed carefully in my best modest wife outfit. A simple black dress that Trevor had always said made me look appropriate. I did my makeup and hair the way Trevor liked, playing my role perfectly one last time. Trevor was unusually attentive during the drive, opening my car door and complimenting my appearance. "You look beautiful tonight," he said, taking my hand as we walked into the restaurant. Chez Laurent was exactly as elegant as I remembered from my business dinners there. The maitre d' recognized me but showed no sign of it, professionally seating us at a corner table with white linens and crystal stemware. Trevor ordered an expensive bottle of wine and made small talk about work, but I could see he was building up to something. "Diana," he said after our appetizers arrived, "I've been doing a lot of thinking about our future." "What kind of thinking?" Trevor took a deep breath, like he was about to deliver a rehearsed speech. "We've been married for 6 years, and they've been good years. You've been a supportive wife, and I'm grateful for that." The past tense wasn't lost on me. "But Trevor, I think we need to be honest about where we are in our lives," he continued. "I've grown a lot professionally. My career has taken off in ways I never expected." "It has," I agreed. "You've worked very hard. The thing is, Diana, when men reach a certain level of success, their needs change. Their social circles change. The expectations placed on them change." Trevor paused to sip his wine, gathering courage. "I've been spending time with people who operate at a different level than we're used to. Sophisticated people, educated people, people who understand business and society in ways that I don't?" I finished for him. Trevor looked relieved that I was making this easier. "Exactly. Diana, you're a wonderful person, but you're simple. Your interests are small. Your education is limited. Your job is basic." Each word was like a calculated knife thrust, designed to make me feel worthless and grateful for whatever scraps he was about to offer. "I've fallen in love with someone else," Trevor said, leaning forward with false sincerity. "Someone who can match my ambition and understand my world. Someone who can help me reach my full potential instead of holding me back." I took a sip of wine and nodded thoughtfully. "Veronica Sterling." Trevor's eyes widened. "How did you—" "It's been obvious for months, Trevor. The late nights, the new clothes, the way you talk about her." "Then you understand why this is necessary," Trevor said, his confidence returning. "Veronica and we're compatible in ways that you and I never were. She's sophisticated, educated, connected. She comes from the right kind of family." "I see." Trevor leaned back, clearly expecting tears or begging. Instead, I smiled calmly and raised my wine glass. "Congratulations," I said. "I hope you'll be very happy with Veronica." Trevor's face went blank with confusion. "What?" I said, "Congratulations. You've found someone you think is better suited for you. That's wonderful. Diana, you're not upset." "Should I be? You've just told me that I'm not good enough for the life you want. Why would I want to force someone to stay with me who feels that way?" Trevor was getting agitated now. This wasn't going according to his script. "But what will you do? Where will you go? You can't afford—" "Trevor, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me." We drove home in tense silence, Trevor stealing glances at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. That night, I went to my home office while Trevor paced around the house, clearly frustrated that his grand gesture hadn't produced the reaction he wanted. That's when he sent the text message. "Don't wait up. I've found someone who truly gets me." And I finally got to tell him exactly what I thought of his 6 years of condescension and manipulation. The morning after I blocked Trevor's number, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. I made coffee in my beautiful kitchen, the one I'd paid for with cryptocurrency profits, and opened my laptop to check my portfolio. Up another $200,000 overnight, thanks to a tech stock surge I'd predicted weeks ago. Then I began dismantling Trevor's entire world. My first call was to Felix. It's time to reveal everything. Start with his company. Are you sure, Diana? Once we do this, there's no going back? I'm sure. Trevor thinks he can discard me like I'm worthless. Let's show him what worthless actually looks like. Felix had compiled years of documentation proving that every major success in Trevor's career had been orchestrated by me. The insider information, the market research, the profitable tips that made his division look brilliant, it was all traceable back to anonymous sources that Felix could now prove were connected to my accounts. At 9 a.m., Felix sent a detailed report to Harrison Sterling, CEO of Trevor's company. The report showed that Trevor Miller had been receiving illegal insider information to inflate his performance, and that all his innovative strategies were actually stolen market research. By 10 a.m., Trevor's keycard access had been revoked and security was cleaning out his desk. My second call was to Veronica Sterling's father. Mr. Sterling, this is Diana Miller, Trevor's wife. I believe we need to have a conversation about your daughter's relationship with my husband. Harrison Sterling was a smart man who built his fortune by making calculated decisions. When I explained Trevor's real financial situation, that he was married to a woman worth nearly $9 million and had been living off her money for 6 years, Sterling understood immediately that his daughter was dating a fraud. Are you telling me that this man I've been promoting has been lying about his qualifications? Sterling asked. I'm telling you that Trevor Miller makes $65,000 a year in salary and has approximately $3,000 in personal savings. Everything else, our house, our lifestyle, his apparent financial success, comes from my cryptocurrency and investment portfolio. And you're willing to provide documentation of this? Mr. Sterling, your daughter thinks she's upgrading to a successful businessman. She's actually dating a middle manager who can't afford dinner at the restaurant where he took her last night. 3 hours later, my phone rang. It was Veronica. How dare you? She shrieked into the phone. You've ruined everything. Hello, Veronica. I assume your father told you the truth about Trevor's finances. You're lying. Trevor is successful and sophisticated and everything you're not. Veronica, Trevor has been living in a house I bought with cash while pretending he was paying the mortgage. He's been wearing suits I secretly funded and driving a car I paid for. Even his successful career was built on information I provided. The line went quiet. You're saying he's broke? I'm saying he's exactly what he appeared to be 6 years ago, a middle manager with modest income and big dreams. The only difference is that I spent 6 years making those dreams look real. At 2 p.m., Trevor finally showed up at our house that was legally mine alone. He looked terrible, unshaven, panicked, and completely defeated. Diana, we need to talk, he said, trying to walk past me into the house. Actually, Trevor, you need to leave. I've changed the locks. You can't change the locks. This is my house, too. I handed him a folder of documents. The deed is in my name only, always has been. The mortgage you thought you were paying, that was money from my investment accounts automatically transferring to make you feel important. Trevor's face went white as he read through the papers. This can't be real. You're a bookkeeper. You make $35,000 a year. Trevor, I make more in a month than you make in a year. I've been a millionaire since before we met. That's impossible. Walsh Financial Solutions, my cryptocurrency portfolio, my real estate investments, my startup equity. I'm worth $8.9 million as of this morning. Trevor collapsed onto our front steps, the folder of documents scattering around him. But I was supporting you. You needed me. You couldn't survive without me. I was testing you, Trevor. For 6 years, I wanted to see if you could love someone you thought was beneath you financially. You failed. Trevor started crying then, not tears of sadness, but the desperate sobs of a man whose entire identity had just been destroyed. Veronica won't see me anymore, he whispered. Her father fired me. She said I was lying about everything. You were lying about everything. Diana, please, I made a mistake. I love you. I'll change. I looked down at my husband. This man who had spent years making me feel small and worthless while I secretly funded his entire life. Trevor, you told me I was simple and uneducated. You said I was holding you back from reaching your potential. You said you needed someone more sophisticated. I was wrong. I was stupid. You're amazing. You're right. I am amazing. I built a multi-million-dollar fortune while pretending to be the kind of woman you thought you deserved. I'm brilliant, successful, and completely capable of taking care of myself. I stepped back toward my house, my beautiful house that I could finally enjoy without pretending I didn't deserve it. The divorce papers will be filed tomorrow. You'll receive nothing in the settlement because everything belongs to me. You can pick up your personal belongings next week. As I closed the door on Trevor Miller and 6 years of living as someone else, I felt something I hadn't experienced since college. The freedom to be exactly who I was. A brilliant, wealthy, successful woman who no longer had to pretend to be less than she was for anyone. Now I have to ask you, was Diana right to hide her wealth and success from Trevor for 6 years? Some people might say she was being deceptive and manipulative by creating a fake identity. Others might argue she was protecting herself and testing Trevor's true character. What do you think? Should Diana have been honest about her millions from the beginning, or was she smart to see how Trevor would treat someone he thought was beneath him financially? And was Trevor's punishment too harsh, or did he get exactly what he deserved for his years of condescension and cheating? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to hear different perspectives on this. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to hear more stories like this. And give this video a thumbs up if you think Diana's revenge was absolutely perfect.